It looks like today might be the day that Biden signs the long-awaited executive order on crypto. I know that a lot of people are either afraid or excited for this, but in either case, reports for weeks now have indicated this executive order will probably underwhelm the crypto space in that it may not provide much clarity and instead will mainly set a 180-day timeline for various regulatory agencies to come up with reports on crypto. Regardless of what we actually see in this executive order, though, this is probably the beginning, for better or worse, of crypto's integration as a legitimate asset class into society. Ready? Let's go. Today, we will discuss the long-feared Biden administration executive order on cryptocurrencies. Will it be bad? Will it be good? Will it kill crypto? Will it help crypto? What is this thing going to be? We'll also talk about Coinbase blocking Russian-linked accounts. We'll talk about Cardano node 1.34.1 release and a little update on the Terra Virtua Cardano Summit 2021 NFTs. If you find that these videos are bringing you value each weekday, I would love it if you would consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. This is one of the best articles that I think kind of compiles everything that's sort of been leaked and said about what might be in this Biden administration executive order on cryptocurrencies. We've been waiting for this thing for a long time. And so far, it seems like most of the reports I've seen, it's always sort of like one of these media outlets quoting people who don't want to be named because they're, leaking little bits of information about what's going to be in this report, and they're not actually authorized to talk about it in public. Very typical, right, of politics in general and specifically Washington politics. But everything we've seen has sort of been in line with this, which makes me think this is probably true. For the record, though, the situation with the war in Ukraine could change everything. Obviously, the sanctions against the Russian Federation are a great excuse for them to change up this executive order and suddenly do some unexpected strict things that all of us in crypto won't like. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but it's always possible because the war in Ukraine, obviously great chance for them to pivot super hard and blame it on trying to prevent sanctions evasion. But this article doesn't say anything like that. It says largely what we would expect it to say given previous reports. U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to sign a long-awaited executive order this week directing the Justice Department, Treasury, and other agencies. There's a little hint as to which pieces of the U.S. government might figure prominently in all this, and that's kind of to be expected. Justice, Treasury, other agencies, of course, like the SEC. And the executive order is going to ask them to study the legal and economic ramifications of creating a U.S. central bank digital currency. We already know there is a strong push for a U.S. CBDC, and this is going to be kind of a world-changing shift. If the U.S. and the EU go to CBDCs, it opens up a whole world of economic possibilities we've never seen before. They could do a lot of behavioral economics things that central banks have never been able to do before, just because a digital currency allows them to create different interest rates for different people, which can stimulate different groups, not stimulate other groups, get certain groups to spend money, get certain groups to save money. And when I say groups, I'm like speaking demographically here. I'm not indicating that they would inappropriately sort of single out any group in any kind of nefarious way. It's just that they might want, young workers in their, 20s, 30s, 40s to be spending money in a different way than they know that retirees might need to spend money. And, I'm not saying that nobody's saying this is necessarily going to happen immediately, but they would have the power to do these things for the first time ever. Of course, there'd be a great amount of debate, and definitely there would be factions that would fight very hard for them not to be engaging in these kind of behavioral economics. But the point I'm trying to make is that they would have the power to do these kind of things for the first time. So the article says the White House last year said it was considering a wide-ranging oversight of the cryptocurrency market, including an executive order to deal with growing threat of ransomware and other cybercrime. These, again, are just sort of like the code hooks that they're going to hang this on. I think all of us in crypto probably are suspecting, different driving forces behind this, really. And the most sort of conspiracy theory oriented one is that they want to kind of tamp down all of the existing public blockchain cryptocurrencies in order to make way for the US CBDC. Even if that's not the case, let's say we don't believe in that sort of, conspiracy theory-ish thesis on what's going on here. You can say that there's a lot of ways in which crypto doesn't conform to the current regulatory framework. One of the scariest things here that I've talked about many times on this channel is that a central component of the crypto landscape right now is the ability for normal people to invest in early stage projects that, under the existing regulatory framework, only accredited investors could invest in. What if you were not allowed to have acquired tokens in SundaeSwap or Liquid or MuesliSwap or any other project you could possibly name in Cardano? What if you weren't allowed to be an investor in those projects, but only accredited investors were? If you don't know what an accredited investor is, we can take a look at that right now. Here's the SEC website with a bulletin on who exactly is an accredited investor according to our securities regulation framework. So we've got a natural person, that's just a human being who earns income that exceeds 200,000 USD individually or 300,000 together with their spouse. Obviously, this will include some people in crypto, but exclude the vast majority. That's a very high income, even in the most developed countries in the world. If you're making 200K, you're doing pretty well. It's all relative, though. I know some people are scoffing themselves like, my friends, all of my friends make 200K. If you're that person, just know that is not everyone. Even in the most developed countries, the vast majority of people fall far short of that. The other way you can qualify is if you have a net worth over 1 million, and this excludes the value of the house you live in. So just because our real estate prices have run up significantly, crazily in the Western world doesn't mean you can count your, $800,000 house or $1.3 million house as part of that million. You have to have $1 million excluding your primary residence. Or if you are one of them, if you hold a Series 7, 65, or 82 license, you're considered a professional with the level of understanding and sophistication in securities purchases to be trusted to actually buy things that the SEC considers a security. And then we've got a bunch of sort of entity categories. If you're a trust with total assets in excess of 5 million, if you're an entity with total investments in excess of 5 million, or any entity in which all the equity owners are accredited investors. So you can tell just by looking at this list, if only accredited investors could invest in these early stage projects like they can in the normal securities world, the vast majority of people in crypto aren't going to be able to buy SundaeSwap tokens or Liquid tokens or, MinSwap or name any project, any early stage project in crypto. They're not going to be able to buy those tokens. Guess who is? People who fit one of these categories. You're going to have VC funds, which fit down here in these entity categories. Very rich individuals who are pulling down 200K a year or have a net worth over 1 million, not counting their house, or people who work in the securities industry and hold one of these licenses. And that's pretty much it. Everybody else would be excluded. Just for the record, there are people at the SEC, and I think Hester Peirce is one of them, who think that's an antiquated definition and it needs to be relaxed. And nobody is saying at all that that definition is suddenly going to pop up in the executive order tomorrow. Quite to the contrary, we've seen indications that the executive order tomorrow is quite neutral towards cryptocurrencies and that it's really just asking for this 180-day deadline for a series of reports on the future of money and the role that cryptocurrencies will play in the evolving landscape, as we see here in the paragraph in the Reuters article. But you could imagine the report from, say, the SEC that comes out in that 180-day period. You could imagine that one addressing the accredited investor issue. And we don't know how that plays out. Will the SEC say, we really think the same antiquated accredited investor definition should apply to crypto? Or maybe the people at the SEC who understand that that's an antiquated definition, maybe they'll win the day. Because I mean, the rationale behind that accredited investor definition and the way it's applied has always been that you want sophisticated investors to be the ones who are investing in these early stage startups that don't necessarily have the full disclosure regime applied to them that, say, a security on the public markets would, right? It's like you're okay with unsophisticated investors investing in Tesla, given that it's on the public markets. There's a huge amount of disclosure, including all financials, but you don't necessarily want them investing in a very early stage startup where they might get very limited disclosures. That's an understandable rationale, but I think crypto has shown us that amazing things happen when you trust people to make their own financial decisions. So hopefully, if that issue is addressed by the SEC in their 180-day report, hopefully the enlightened individuals like Hester Peirce will carry the day. This Reuters article is a lot like all the articles we've seen in the past few weeks. They're citing a source who's not allowed to speak publicly, and the source is cautioning certain things, but not actually explicitly saying very many things. But the article does say that the Biden order is likely to come on Wednesday. So hopefully on the day that this video debuts, you'll get the actual signed order and we'll all be able to take a look at it. In line with this regulatory theme today, the BBC is letting us know that crypto platform Coinbase has blocked thousands of Russia-linked wallets. And when we say thousands, we actually mean 25,000. So it's not a couple thousand, it's 25,000. The platform said the addresses were related to Russian individuals or entities it believed to have engaged in illicit activity. I like how they just throw these two together, Russian individuals and criminals. So that's definitely a loaded combination in that pair right there. They outlined how the crypto exchange was complying with new rules imposed because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It means no access for sanctioned individuals and includes sophisticated blockchain analytics to identify accounts indirectly linked to banned users. So Coinbase is letting us know that they did their own proactive investigations to identify these 25,000 addresses. We shared them with the government to further support sanctions enforcement. Sanctions play a vital role in promoting national security and deterring unlawful aggression. Coinbase fully supports these efforts by government authorities. The U.S. government had asked crypto platforms to help ensure Russian oligarchs could not use virtual currencies to avoid sanctions. Here's the part of their article that was the most interesting to me. They say, we are not preemptively banning all Russians from using Coinbase. We believe everyone deserves access to basic financial services unless the law says otherwise. So who's making the decision? Obviously, they're saying, hey, we're trying to ban oligarchs. We don't want oligarchs, who are associated with Putin to be able to move money, evade sanctions via Coinbase. But who's making the decision? You banned 25,000 accounts. Who got to decide who were the regular Russian citizens that they are not trying to preemptively ban and which ones are oligarchs? I mean, was it the US government? I mean, who has the list of oligarchs? Where was the line drawn? Because 25,000 accounts, that's a lot of accounts. And if you followed my posts on Twitter since the invasion of Ukraine began, you already know I'm highly in favor of the sanctions, and I'm in favor of trying to prevent evasion of those sanctions too. I'm just curious exactly how the line gets drawn here. Just in case you missed it, 2 days ago, we had the release of a brand new Cardano node, 1.34.1. And you'll remember from the video yesterday that in Charles's recent update, he went to pretty great lengths to make sure that everyone understood the importance of the dataless full node wallet, in that it's really the embodiment of the protocol, and especially the mission of the protocol to provide self-verification for all of the users. So it's good to see that the actual Cardano node is constantly evolving like this with new versions. Finally, I don't know if we'll ever get to the end of the saga of the Cardano Summit 2021 NFTs, but I feel like we're making progress, and I keep covering it just because I want to see this thing through till the end. I don't want to give up on this. I want to see us actually get these NFTs, and we keep making these little tiny bits of progress, including today. So Terra Virtua posted this, a Cardano Summit update for our communities. They said, hey, everyone, we wanted to give you a quick update about the Cardano Summit NFT asset redemption progress. We're working hard not only on the integration between Cardano and Terra Virtua, but also the way the user experience flows. We want to make sure we make it as intuitive and easy as possible. We're aiming to deliver the best possible user experience for Cardano users, especially when it comes to adding utilities to Cardano NFTs. We also want to offer users the option to pick which digital assets they want to mint as NFTs. Okay, that's all great, but what about our NFTs? We're incredibly excited to get this project launched, and we're going to make sure it's worth the wait. Your support means everything to us from all of us across both our teams. Thank you. We'll update you as soon as we know more. Thanks for your continued patience and support. And I can't help but notice when I look at their little robot, I'm assuming he's some kind of mascot. He's holding a Cardano coin for those of you just listening, but he looks a little downtrodden. I look at this guy, even his eyes are kind of pointed downward in shame. It's like he's ashamed of how long it's taken them to give us our Cardano Summit tokens. Even the 3D modeled robot mascot is ashamed. So I'm hoping, Terra Virtua, thank you for the update. It sounds like you're working very hard, and we'll all be very happy when we finally get our Cardano Summit NFTs. I hope you're having a great week. I know we'll all be waiting to see what that executive order looks like, that hopefully is expected to drop today, but I will talk to you tomorrow and we'll discuss all that.